Did I miss everything? Did I miss the boat? Oh no, did I miss the boat? I waited like 7 days to play this. Fuck.
Yeah, I know I'm late. So y'all have probably seen these Iceberg videos. They're basically glorified lists that cover urban legends or disturbing trivia usually around a specific game. So here I am with my own film Iceberg. Now, film is a much broader topic than a single game, so it's impossible for me to cover everything. I stuck to film rumors, theories, and general bizarre trivia that I thought were the most interesting and I knew the most about. As we go down the iceberg, things will become increasingly more strange. So, without further ado, this is my film Iceberg Explained. This is the first little rabbit hole that everyone eventually falls into, especially at a young age. It's the idea that Disney movies have innuendos either as jokes for parents, or in some extreme theories, to manipulate kids. You've got the supposed sex message in The Lion King, the sex message in the Tangled poster, the penis statue in The Little Mermaid, and the Pope of a Stiffy. Some can be explained as a coincidence, but some are definitely intentional.
We're like your biggest fans!
I love being men.
Someone's definitely horny on Maine at Disney. This is a theory that Walt Disney had himself frozen when he died so that he could be thought out in the future. He actually expressed a lot of interest in being frozen, which is why the theory rose in prominence. In fact, some people believe that the movie Frozen was made just so that people who Google the theory will be redirected to the movie. In reality, Walt Disney was actually cremated, so a little bit in the opposite direction. Alright, last Disney one. Since its release, The Lion King has been heavily criticized for clearly copying many concepts from the anime Kimba. Well, that's what everyone thought until the channel Your Movie Sucks made a 2-hour-long video dissecting every single Kimba series, only to conclude that this was a load of bullshit. He also exposed that a lot of these Lion King Kimba comparison videos are entirely misleading. They compare Lion King footage from 1994 and compare it to a Kimba film made in 1997. Only to claim that The Lion King stole these shots. It's actually a great video you should check out if you haven't already because YMS totally needs my shout out. A popular conspiracy theory is that the government employed director Stanley Kubrick to direct a fake moon landing, thus winning them the space race. This myth was born from the release of 2001: A Space Odyssey, which was praised heavily for its special effects. Some idiots, I mean people, still believe this myth to this day despite countless debunkings.
That with a single light source with the surface of the same reflectivity as the moon, our astronaut is clearly visible, busting that myth.
There's this perceived phenomenon that anybody who works on Superman shows or movies inevitably faces misfortune due to what's known as the Superman Curse. The two actors that are frequently brought up for this are George Reeves and Christopher Reeve. George played Superman in the 1952 television series Adventures of Superman. In 1959, George would die at the age of 45 from a gunshot wound which was ruled as a suicide despite conflicting evidence. Christopher Reeve played Superman in 4 feature films from 1978 to 1987. Unfortunately, in 1995, he became paralyzed after a horse riding accident. He would later die from heart failure 9 years later. The list is rather extensive, including people like Marlon Brando, Margot Kidder, and Richard Pryor, all of whom worked on different Superman films. The theory kind of falls apart when you realize there's an equal amount of Superman actors who are completely fine. You've got Dean Cain, Bob Holliday, Henry Cavill, and hell, even I'm still alive.
Michelangelo, Leonardo, Da Vinci, they're all dead. I remain!
A curse just as recognizable is the Omen Curse. The Omen was a 1976 horror movie that seemed to be plagued by misfortune. A year after its release, special effects supervisor John Richardson and his assistant Liz Moore got into a fatal car accident. Richardson was able to escape alive, but Moore was cut in half by the tire of a vehicle. Many said it was reminiscent of a decapitation scene from the film. There was also the death of an animal expert when they tried using a tiger for a stunt. Other incidents include actor Gregory Peck and producer Mace Neufeld having their planes struck by lightning. Neufeld also narrowly evaded multiple bombings by the IRA. Also, a plane they tried using for an aerial shot was given to a different group of people and ended up crashing, killing all on board. While it is bizarre, these can still be chalked up to just coincidences. The animal accident happened after the film crew had left the safari park, and the animal expert himself was relatively young at 22. Also, the car accident happened a year after the film was completed. Nevertheless, all the accidents that happened on set influenced the making of the film, particularly making stunts a lot more safer. Fellas, it's the Mandela effect. Yeah, I'm pretty sure there are more people who know this as the Mandela Effect movie than there are people who have actually seen it. Shazaam was a 1996 comedy starring Shaq as a genie. Many confuse it for Shazaam with actor Sinbad playing the part of the genie. This movie does not exist. This confusion probably stems from the fact that Sinbad also made comedy movies for children at the same time Shazaam was released. Or maybe we all went to an alternate dimension and this movie holds all the secrets. Another film curse born from various unfortunate events. This time surrounding the crew of Poltergeist. Actress Dominique Dune was strangled to death by her ex-boyfriend months after the release of the film. Heather O'Rourke died at the age of 12 from cardiac arrest after experiencing septic shock from congenital bowel obstruction. Her death was distinctly unusual since she showed no prior symptoms. There's also this clown scene which almost accidentally choked this kid if Spielberg hadn't stopped it in time. Again, curses like these really just come down to coincidence. Interesting side note, the skeleton props here aren't actually props, they're real skeletons. These things were once living, breathing human beings. And actress Jo Beth Williams didn't know this at all. This is the first of many urban legends attached to the Wizard of Oz. The most well-known one now is that a Munchkin committed suicide on set, and you can see it in this scene. If you just think about it logically, you'd realize how ridiculous that sounds. Like, after they found the actor dead, they just didn't reshoot the scene? And they somehow managed to cover it up all these years? Unsurprisingly, this one is just a hoax, and the supposed original footage is edited to have a figure hanging from a tree. Just like Disney Innuendos, A Day with SpongeBob SquarePants is the first lost film you'll probably find out about. Basically, a mockumentary about SpongeBob appeared for sale, and no one was able to get their hands on it. This prompts a manhunt for the supposed lost film, with people uncovering bizarre information about the production studio. It's a long story, and Blame It on Jorge has a video that goes more in-depth into the topic if you don't know about it, but chances are you've probably already seen it. With the information gathered so far, it seems like the film was simply never made. Food Fight is considered to be one of the worst animated films ever made. Despite having a budget of over $45 million, it still looks like shit. However, if you decide to look at the trailer, you'll realize that this still looks bad, but looks significantly better than the actual movie. That's because the original footage for Food Fight was stolen in late 2002, and so the team had to remake the whole movie from scratch. The most interesting thing about this case is that it would have been incredibly complex for anyone to steal these hard drives. This means someone from the inside had to have at least helped plan this. So, who the fuck did this? We'll never know. Grizzly Man is a 2005 documentary directed by Werner Herzog and documents the life and death of Timothy Treadwell. Treadwell and his girlfriend Amy Huguenard were unfortunately eaten alive by a grizzly bear. In his final moments, Treadwell actually recorded the event, although since a lens cap was on the camera, only audio exists. During the film, Herzog actually listens to the tape and is deeply disturbed by it. Treadwell's ex-girlfriend, Joelle Palavoc, is the owner of the only tape recording of it. Herzog actually advises her to destroy it, but she decides to keep it in a bank vault. There have been many reports of the audio being discovered, but they are all hoaxes. The audio has not been released, nor will it ever be released. The Mountain Eagle is a 1925 silent film, and it's the second film directed by Alfred Hitchcock. The film was a romantic melodrama that followed a widowed man competing with his crippled son and a man he dislikes for the affection of a school teacher. Despite being directed by someone as prolific as Hitchcock, the film has become completely lost. This probably due to the immense approval not only from critics, but from Hitchcock himself, who has even said that he's glad it became lost. As of now, only 24 still photographs were found in an archive of one of Hitchcock's close friends. Rumor has it that in the early days of film, audiences were just not accustomed to motion picture. During a film screening, a train started coming near the camera, which caused everyone to run out of the theater in fear. The film in question was an 1896 film called Arrival of a Train at La Ciutat. Despite the reviews and coverage of this film, there's never been any coverage of audiences supposedly running out of the theater. The myth is simply just a myth. Nanook of the North is a 1922 documentary about Inuit life during the time. In 1989, it was selected as one of the first 25 films for preservation by the Library of Congress. The problem? All of it was staged. Director Robert J. Flattery created a fictionalized, more dramatic life for the Inuits in his film. In one scene, he shows the characters music for the first time, when in fact, they already knew what it was back then. This makes Nanook of the North one of the first hoax films ever made. What's even more fucked up is that this is the earliest documentation the villagers have of their ancestors on film. While the percentage being 90 or 75 is up for dispute, what isn't up for dispute is that most silent films are indeed lost. This is because early film used film stock made of nitrocellulose, which is extremely flammable. As a result, there are many studio vault fires that destroyed many archived works. There is a large chunk of film history just gone, seemingly never to return again. Oh, fucking hell, kill me already!
Yep, that's me. You're probably wondering how I ended up in this situation.
This is a cheesy opening cliche popularized by movies from the 80s and 90s, right? Well, answer me this. What movies use it? The cliche goes record scratch, freeze frame, yup, that's me, with this song playing in the background. The song is Baba O'Reilly by The Who and is mostly connected with the opening to Premium Rush. It has the song but none of the other aspects of the trope. Now the song was actually used in other similar openings, most notably Robot Chicken's Star Wars Episode 3 parody. So is that the origin? No. It has the song but again misses the other key aspects. Ratatouille has a similar opening too, but it's not quite it. It's not from Holes, Spider-Man, Megamind, The Girl Next Door. It's not from any film, so is it really a cliche? Now, I get it, the trope is a combination of different versions of the opening, but then where did the record scratch come from? Where did the phrase come from? There's a clip that claims to be the original version of the cliche. I played it in the beginning of this topic, and it has all the aspects of the trope, yet no one can identify where it comes from. So if this manages to reach anyone outside my 15 subs, please help me identify this. This has become my own personal rabbit hole. Okay, so my weird conspiracy theory aside, there's actually another more relevant pop culture phrase that has seemingly mysterious origins. The dialogue goes as follows. So, what does it do? Do? That's the beauty of it. It doesn't do anything. This phrase has been attributed to films like Back to the Future, Office Space, The Big Lebowski. However, none of them actually have it. While we don't have the exact origin, there are two instances that are very close. One is the 1963 show Burke's Law, in the episode Who Killed 711.
What does it do?
Do?
What's it for?
Well, nothing. I mean, that's the beauty of it. No, every machine in the world does something, but not mine. No.
The second is a 1987 play Apocalyptic Butterflies with this dialogue. The problem with these being the origin is that these works weren't necessarily popular even during their time. So we're still left with the question of how it became a popular reference phrase. Or you could just be lazy and say it was a Mandela effect. Don't Look Now is a 1974 horror film directed by Nicholas Roeg. Midway through the film, actors Julie Christie and Donald Sutherland have a long sex scene. It was pretty controversial for the 70s and sparked the rumor that both actors actually had sex in this scene. Fuel was added to the fire when producer Peter Bart confirmed this rumor. However, Rogue, Christie, Sutherland, and even the cinematographer have all denied these claims. Interesting side note, this was actually the first scene that they shot for the film. Great way to start production, guys. You all know what Citizen Kane is. It's a 1941 drama film by Orson Welles and is claimed to be the best movie ever made, although I have my opinions. Well, in 1989, color technology was getting better, so producer Ted Turner wanted to create a colorized version of Citizen Kane. However, one of Welles' last wishes was that the film should never be released in color. Now, if you thought that was going to stop money-hungry producers, then you are sorely mistaken. No, what actually stopped them was the contract they had with the film. It stated that Welles shall deliver a black and white motion picture. They actually had some scenes colored, but because of the contract, production swiftly ended and the film was locked away in a vault, never to be seen again, technically becoming lost. If you want to see what it may have looked like, well, here it is. Safe to say we aren't missing out on much. This shit looks haunting. This refers to the strange phenomenon where the Pink Floyd album, The Dark Side of the Moon, syncs almost perfectly together with the film, The Wizard of Oz. And it's not just the rhythm, but themes and direct lyrics sync up as well. The song Brain Damage starts playing when we meet the Scarecrow. A heartbeat plays when we meet the Tin Man. When Dorothy gets back home, well, this plays. And there are so many more coincidences like this. People have thought that the band may have been secretly inspired by the film to make this album, although this has been denied. There's a great video that goes into more detail about this and applies to other films like Paul Blart, The Godfather, and Shrek. So, if you're interested in a deep dive about the subject, definitely check it out. In 1971, comedian Jerry Lewis and writer Nathan Waxberger began production on the film The Day the Clown Cried. The film revolves around a clown who becomes imprisoned in a Nazi concentration camp. While there, he takes it upon himself to entertain young Jewish kids, and the film concludes with him doing just that, as they enter a gas chamber. Now, while this was directed, produced, and starred Jerry Lewis, he would ultimately be the one responsible for halting its release. To put it simply, Lewis was deeply embarrassed by what he described as a bad film. The film is essentially lost, but not for too long. In 2015, a copy of the film was donated to the Library of Congress by Lewis himself, under the condition that it wouldn't be released until 10 years had passed. So we could see release in 2025. For now, all we have are just a few production photos and a small amount of footage. Buckle up because we're reaching some dark territories now. The Wizard of Oz is no doubt a classic, however, despite its colorful and cheery tones, the actual process of making it was anything but. There's the infamous Wicked Witch of the West accidents. In her first scene, the witch makes a dramatic exit using fire. An accident with the effect unfortunately gave Margaret Hamilton second-degree burns on her face and third-degree burns on her hands. She was hospitalized for 6 weeks and only returned on the condition that she didn't have to work with fire effects again. A good call by her since there was another fire accident which permanently scarred her stunt double's legs. Tin Man actor Buddy Ebsen had an allergic reaction to the aluminum dust used in the Tin Man makeup. He experienced intense body aches and muscle cramps which eventually took a hold of his chest, restricting his breathing. He was hospitalized for 2 weeks and reportedly had breathing problems for the rest of his life. His replacement actor Jack Haley wasn't safe either. They replaced the dust with aluminum paste, which resulted in an eye infection, though it was treated promptly with no harsh side effects. Then there was the use of fake snow, which, at the time, was made from asbestos, which if you didn't know, can cause cancer if exposed to it. Unfortunately, asbestos was also used in the Scarecrow costume. Perhaps worst of all would be the treatment Judy Garland received on set. At the age of just 16, MGM put Garland on a strict diet to preserve her thin, childlike body. They frequently gave her prep pills, also known as uppers, so that she consistently had energy on set each day. As a result, she also needed frequent sleeping pills to help her sleep. This unfortunately led her to drug addiction, which would eventually take her life at the age of 47 due to an overdose. Worse yet, she was also allegedly sexually harassed by various Munchkin actors. The film still remains a classic, but we should never forget the tragedies and atrocities that took place on that set. This refers to the theory that the 2016 animated film Angry Birds is ingrained with right-wing themes and references. Sounds a little far-fetched, but there are aspects about the film that seem a little fishy. A lot of them are detailed in this video by Noggin, which I know has been memed for this moment.
Red knocking him down may be a reference to the Holocaust.
However, there are some valid points. Like, the plot of the film involves pigs overtaking this bird island with their presence. The pigs get there by boat, and the leader pig has a very prominent beard. The theory believes that the pigs are symbolic of the Muslim immigrant crisis. The main character Red represents conservative opinions and how they feel ostracized from society.
Your opinion is not needed. Why do we have to agree? Why does it matter that we're not the same?
This all felt like a stretch until I saw this. This is a parody of the religious coexist sign, which also includes an Islamic symbol. The original design is meant to symbolize how all religions can coexist in peace. However, most right-leaning people believe this to be impossible. The fact that the pigs adopt this symbol while also being the villains of this story is perhaps insinuating a certain message. Now, you're probably thinking, why would anyone bother putting in politics into this movie? It's made for dumb kids. Well, you're right, kids are stupid and impressionable. I mean, movies like Zootopia and the Lego Movie had pretty overt political topics. What's stopping the right from making their own? That said, the theory kind of falls apart when you realize that both directors are really left-leaning people. So either animators put in these symbols and it went over their heads, or they made a dumb movie without thinking about themes or symbols at all. The latter is probably true. This refers to the 1974 cold case of an unidentified woman whose remains were found in the Race Point Dunes in Provincetown, Massachusetts. Despite countless efforts in 1980, 2000, and 2013, her and her killer remain unidentified. The few things we know about her is that she wore a blue bandana and a pair of Wrangler jeans. In May of 2010, her skull was placed through a CT scanner, which generated facial reconstructions of what she may have looked like. In August of 2015, speculation arose that the victim might have been an extra on Jaws. This theory coming from the fact that they look similar and both wore a blue bandana and a pair of jeans. Jaws was released in 1975 but filmed in 1974, the same year her remains were found. On top of this, Jaws was filmed in Martha's Vineyard, which is only about 100 miles south of Provincetown. While a few investigators have shown interest in the theory, nothing new has been uncovered thus far. There's a rumor that Alejandro Jodorowsky's 1970 film, El Topo, contains a real scene between him and another actress. Strangely enough, this rumor was perpetuated by Jodorowsky himself. During a 1972 interview for the movie, he claimed that he really raped actress Mara Lorenzio. Later, in a 2007 interview, he would recant this statement, claiming that the sexual act was consensual, and his statement was meant as a shocking publicity stunt. Lorenzio has never made a statement herself, and her whereabouts currently are unknown. Jodorowsky has put himself in a very unique situation where it's his words against his own. I wasn't going to mention my opinion, but I did cover one of his films, and I feel like someone might ask, what's that all about? I don't believe the scene was real, and I do think he was just trying to be shocking. He's definitely a weird guy, but watching other interviews makes it clear that he wouldn't willingly put someone in danger, especially without their consent. If you think he's kind of a scumbag for making light of a serious topic, then that's perfectly valid. But to actually give him the title of a holds a lot more weight to it. Again, it's a weird situation of his words against his own, but that's my opinion so far given what we know. Freaks is a 1932 horror film directed by Todd Browning. The film revolves around a trapeze artist and a circus strongman who conspire to kill a dwarf from their circus to gain his large inheritance. The film was controversial for its use of people with disabilities and violence. The first test screening proved to be disastrous. Some people ran out of the theater, some fainted. One woman even tried suing the studio, claiming that the film caused her to have a miscarriage. As a result, a majority of the ending was cut and is now considered lost. This ending contains scenes such as the mutilation of the trapeze artist and the castration of the circus strongman. Despite the cuts, the film was still highly controversial and it effectively ended Browning's career. Penis is a lost 1965 pornographic film. It's a film so obscure that many question if it even exists. In fact, it doesn't even have a proper Lost Media wiki page. There are 2 pieces of evidence supporting its existence. There's a 1970 American Film Institute catalog of motion picture, which has it listed. And there's a Turner Classic movie page for it. It was distributed by Filmmakers Cooperative, and that's about all we knew. Efforts to contact AFI about the film have been fruitless as they don't preserve adult films anymore. Recently, Reddit user Milk Gaming Channel has actually contacted the distributor's FMC. They actually did have the film in their database, which also went by the name 1967. It would cost $100 to rent, but apparently no one ever has. I wonder why. Also, the last time they've checked for the film was in 1999. The film is close, yet so far from being discovered. Natalie Wood was a critically acclaimed actress known for her roles in films like Rebel Without a Cause, West Side Story, and From Here to Eternity. Unfortunately, in November of 1981, Wood would die under mysterious circumstances during a weekend boat trip into Catalina Island. The event took place on her husband's, Robert Wagner's, yacht. On the yacht were her husband, the Captain Dennis Davern, and actor Christopher Walken, who was her co-star in the film Brainstorm, a movie they were filming at the time. Wood and Walken were getting really close, while her relationship with her husband was getting messy. Wagner was aware of this relationship and was noted to have very angry public outbursts about it. Why all 3 went on a boat together is beyond me. At 1:30 a.m., a distress call was made informing authorities that Natalie Wood had disappeared. By 7:30 in the morning, her body was found floating in the water, with multiple bruises on it. Her dinghy was nearby with scratches on it suggesting she had fallen out and tried to get back in. Suspicion would fall on Wagner immediately due to his aforementioned anger towards Wood and Walken. There was also the testimony of another group on a boat who heard screams for help at midnight. Finally, according to Davern, Wagner actually prevented him from turning on searchlights after she had disappeared. Wagner's story about the night has also changed multiple times. Despite Wagner being a person of interest for so many years, the case still remains unsolved. In January of 2020, the yacht on which this event took place was dismantled and demolished. As the years go by, we are less likely to figure out what happened that night. In 1983, 18-year-old model and actress Tammy Lynn Leppard disappeared under mysterious circumstances. Leppard played a minor role in the film Spring Break. When filming was finished, she attended a weekend party by herself. When she arrived back home, people noted that she acted like a completely different person. She became a lot more paranoid and feared that someone was out to get her. When asked about the party, all she said was that she saw something she wasn't supposed to see, but never explained further. Her final role would be in the movie Scarface as a distraction for the lookout car. The scene she appeared in was the chainsaw shower scene, which uses a lot of fake blood. The blood exacerbated her paranoia and she left after the 4th day of filming. She was then sent to a medical center by her mother, where she was examined for 72 hours. According to the doctors, she had no drugs in her system and was completely normal. After this, Leppard tried to have a friend drive her to Fort Lauderdale, which was 170 miles away. He refused and they got into an argument. This prompted her to leave the car at Cocoa Beach. That was the last time anyone has seen her for 37 years. Game in the Sand is a 1964 unreleased short film directed by Werner Herzog. There is very little information about the film. We know that the plot centered around children, a rooster, and at some point, the rooster is buried in sand up to its neck. Herzog has prevented the release of the film, claiming that the shooting got out of hand, but has never stated what happened. He's compared the film to other controversial moments in his filmography. This include young pigs suckling on the corpse of their dead mother, cannibalistic chickens, and an actor who accidentally was set on fire and run over by a truck. Somehow, whatever happened in this short film was too controversial for even Herzog. Herzog has even contemplated burning the negatives before he dies. Him is a 1974 gay pornographic film that loosely references the life of Jesus Christ. The film was mentioned in the book The Golden Turkey Awards, where it received the award for most unerotic concept in pornography. Despite this, many still questioned if the film was actually real until various advertisements and reviews for the film were discovered. The actor was also revealed to be Gustav von Will, an Austrian mural artist. Unfortunately, he died of AIDS in 1991. Currently, no footage has ever resurfaced. Groupie is a partially lost short film by Marilyn Manson. It was shot all in one night at an actual house party hosted by Manson. The film involved a groupie, played by a stooge actress, who would be forced to do more and more perverse things in front of the unknowing guests. This included things like drinking band member Stephen Beer's urine, and reportedly a scene where a gun is involved and blood is shed. While the actress did agree to the part, she may not have known the full extent of what was going to happen. The final film has only been seen by Manson, Andy Dick, and Manson's manager Tony Scalia. After watching it, Scalia told him not to release it as it would most likely end his career and get him locked up in jail. Despite this, a few short clips were implemented at the end of Manson's 1998 live video album, Dead of the World. He's hinted at releasing it a few times, but as of now it remains lost. The Cremaster Cycle is a series of 5 feature-length films directed by Matthew Barney. It was made over the course of 8 years in an unorthodox way. The series started with Cremaster 4 and ended with Cremaster 3. The film can also only be viewed at major museum exhibitions. The main theme of most of these films is the cremaster muscle, whose primary function is to raise or lower the testes in response to temperature. Apparently this series is pretty much hated by most people who actually watch it.
Yeah, the Cremaster Cycle is 6 hours and 38 minutes of just fucking nonsense. Fucking nonsense and annoying bullshit. Look at the are you looking at the poster right now? Of him dressed up in that stupid fucking getup and that stupid makeup? The whole thing is just fucking nonsense. It's awful.
Now, if you want to give it a shot yourself, you can either go watch it at a showing, or buy one of the 20 limited DVD sets, which sell for at least $100 grand each. Good luck. People are always morbidly curious about the concept of death. This is why concepts such as snuff films and red rooms exist despite it not being actually possible. However, there is a genre of film that comes close to it, and that's Mondo Films. Mondo Films are a subgenre of exploitation films and documentaries, also nicknamed shockumentaries, since they're documentary-style videos that depict death, real death. The Traces of Death series contains a lot of famous death footage. This includes the suicide of R. Bud Dwyer, a suicide bomber in Lyon, Spain 1983, the 1972 Cambodian genocide, and the 1998 Venezuela hostage crisis, just to name a few. There's also the Death Files series, which contains war footage, pain rituals, child autopsies, and all around just horrific stuff. The most surprising of all is that some of these films are easily accessible on the site you're on right now. Alright, 2 things before we end this off. 1. This list originally covered some much darker topics. I ended up cutting most of them since it kind of threw off the urban legend bizarre topics vibe I was going for. If you're interested in seeing something like that, then let me know, and I'll see what I can put together. 2nd, there's one last topic on the film Iceberg. A topic so obscure no one has heard of it until now. And that's me, so consider subscribing so you can brag to your friends that you knew me before it was cool.